Superhero Survival is a game designed for educators to use in the classroom. The game has a storytelling aspect that engages players and reinforces their understanding of evolution, natural selection, and population dynamics. It also introduces an element of data collection and analysis that support the relevant concepts through mathematical evidence. Coming into the game, students should be familiar with genes, heredity, and inheritance, as well as have a basic understanding of natural selection. By the end of the game, students should be able to construct an explanation for how the gene pool of a population changes over generations, develop a model to show the causes of how some traits might remain in a population even if all the individuals with that trait die off, and analyze and interpret data to determine patterns in the genetic composition of a population. All of the necessary resources are linked in the teaching guide. Introducing the game should take about 30 minutes. First, share and review the introduction letter. Then, assign superhero groups and either review the pre-filled player sheets or show students how to build their own player sheet using the statistics chart. It can be helpful to walk students through the statistics for each genotype and how the phenotype corresponds to the ability scores on their player sheets. You can then review the gameplay mechanics from the teaching guide with your players. The first round of play generally takes some extra time. Once the superhero groups have their player sheet, you can share the copy of the gameplay tracker for that class. If the students are using digital player sheets, it can be helpful to have them share the document and paste the link to the document at the top of the game tracker. From there, you can start narrating the story and roll for your first encounter. Say you roll an 11. You might share a story like, in the first few weeks of exploration, your group is traversing a frozen tundra. An ice storm hits, dropping the temperature way below freezing. Give me a DC 13 temperature resistance check to see if your superheroes are able to successfully survive the cold. If you'd like the extra data, you can record the roll number and the check in the game tracker. This can be helpful if you are running the game for multiple classes, as it will give you a better sense of how to drive the story. Then you might demonstrate using one superhero group as an example. Show how the players would roll a d20 for each of their 4 individuals, adding their vision modifier to the roll. Then demonstrate how to record the success or failure of each individual in the group's player sheet. Once each group has had time to make their rolls, demonstrate the reproduction mechanics. For each survivor, players should roll a d4 to determine the gamete that will be entered into the gene pool. Players can either record the gametes on a slip of paper or submit them to you to enter into a random pair generator. Tally the number of offspring that each superhero group receives. Once you enter the numbers, the sheet should automatically populate the starting numbers for each superhero group for the next generation. Narrate that a full generation has passed, then roll for the next encounter. If you keep the encounter list private, you can pick the encounters instead of rolling to manage the game. The easier checks should help the population to grow, and the harder checks will help to slow down population growth. The encounters, as written, are random and are not weighted to prefer any particular superhero group. Repeat for as many generations as you can. You'll need at least 4 generations to have enough data points to analyze, but you can continue the game as long as you'd like. When you've wrapped up your data collection through playing the game, you can share the reflection questions with students. These questions challenge players to analyze the data that was generated and evaluate the game as a model for evolution. The extension questions give students a chance to think more about the reproduction mechanics and what the gene pool in the game models. This game is designed to be a fun and exciting experience for students. If you try it out in your classroom, let us know how it goes.